name is Dr. Julie Lopez. I'm the owner and founder of the Viva Center here in Washington, D.C. And those of you who already know me know I'm a complete nerd about implicit memory. And so today, what I want to talk to you about and then walk you through is a specific 4-part exercise that I do regularly with larger groups when they do workshops. And in it, I'm basically illustrating a proven technique for how you can start to be aware of material that is actually in a hidden part of your brain. It's a part of your unconscious, and I like to call it, metaphorically, our hidden control panel. It's back here. And believe it or not, that hidden control panel helps us do a ton of things that we're not conscious of. If we get a cut, it helps a scab form. We don't give commands for all that stuff. It just happens automatically. Keeps our heart beating, basic functions. But it also tells us how to operate in the world. It tells us which things are safe or not safe. It tells us how to be adaptive in all types of circumstances. And yes, it is very influenced by your experiences to date. The family that you grew up in, the type of childhood, adolescence, young adulthood that you have had. And here's the good news. First of all, you can become aware of it. And that's what I'm going to teach you about today. And second of all, and this is what all of my professional career is built upon, you can change it. Things that you may have thought about yourself and you thought of them as characterological actually may be wired from these codes in the back part of your brain. But I don't want to get too geeky on you now because I want to share something with you that is going to help you understand in a more profound way how healing is absolutely possible. And I want to share this knowledge with you. So last year, I wrote this book. It's called Live Empowered. And I called it Live Empowered because my publisher said, if I said anything about implicit memory in the title, no one would read it because it would sound super geeky and boring. So I hid implicit memory somewhere in the subtitle. The subtitle is actually Rewire Your Brain's Implicit Memory to Thrive in Business, Love, and Life. And here's why I chose that title. Because any of these hardwired messages that could be in this hidden control panel in your brain, they help us do all kinds of great things. But anytime we experience an illogical roadblock or some type of thing that seems to keep us from doing the things we want to do, it is always because there's a code in our implicit memory that's getting in the way. So this becomes super important because we can change the codes. We can change the codes no matter what. Some people have codes that come from their very early life before they were 3 years old. By definition, they're unconscious and they're nonverbal. They're pre-verbal. And yet we can still get in there with what we know now through science and with brain and body-based therapeutics. We know how to pinpoint those codes and to change them for your benefit. So here's the first step. So in chapter 6 of my book, it's called Finding Your Unknown PACTs, P-A-C-T-S, because my 4-part methodology actually corresponds to those 4 letters. P is for pain point. A is for awareness, C is for categorize, and T is for trust. And I'm going to explain those all in a really quick format for this video. You can read more about it in this chapter, which goes into the details about each one. So first of all, what's the point of digging into your implicit memory? The only things you really want to change are the ones that are getting in your way. You know what I'm talking about? The type of stuff where you know you want to do something and you have the ability to do something and you have the knowledge of how to do something and you want to do something, yet you don't do that thing. Whether it be implement an exercise routine, speak publicly in your important board meetings, ask for that raise you've always wanted. That's where we see the saboteurs that are usually hidden in this unconscious part of our brain. So the first step, pain. The first thing I want you to do is actually write down a pain point. You may have many pain points, so you can come back and pick another one. But for right now, I want you to pick a place where you notice that you have that kind of sabotage going on in your life. And I'm going to share a story about one of my clients just so that we can walk through this process together, okay? So her pain point actually has to do with relationships. She is beautiful. She is talented. She's open. She spends a lot of her time on activities that communicate to the world that she wants to be dating. Yet, nonetheless, she does not have a significant other. She'll go on date, of course. She's asked out all the time. But for one reason or another, she either pushes people away, decides that they're not the right match for her, or really likes someone, but engages in behaviors that ultimately, in our therapeutic work, she's come to see are sabotaging. And it's confusing for her. So in this part, what she would write down, by way of an example for you, is she would write down pain point. I want to be in a significant relationship, but I'm not. That's the type of pain point. So take a second and write that down. The next step would be to then go to the associations. So you look at that, and here's where you really want to be free and open so that you start to tap into and make details that aren't just logical. You can start in logical, but this is a free brain dump. I'm going to move forward just for the just so that we're keeping time for this instructional video, but come back to this. Take your time. You really want to fill out as many pages as you can. The associations might be a list of things. It might be experiences you've had. For her, it would be maybe a list of people she really liked and she wanted the relationships to go well, and some of the things that happened that were very upsetting to her. I know, because I did this exercise with her, some associations that started to come up were about some earlier tragedies that she'd had in her family. Actually, a sibling who had passed away pretty young, and her parents were pretty down and grieving. And there were just things about relationships that she started to write in her associations that weren't necessarily logically connected to the present day. And she's a woman in her 50s. And so then the next part, what you want to do is looking at all those associations. The next stage is categorization. And this is where I'm just going to refer to an appendix in my book. I don't even know. Yes, you can see this. So you want to create a table, and I'll tell you what the columns are on the table. You can just make it on a piece of paper. So the first column is body physical sensation. Next is actions. Next is emotions, smells, sights, sounds, thoughts, irrational ideas. And I forgot to mention something about the associations. One of the things you can think about doing when you're just free associating is write with your non-dominant hand. Because when you're writing with your non-dominant hand, you actually have a tap into things that are in your unconscious. It's a very powerful exercise. So I want you to take this chart, look at your free associations, and start to put them into these columns across the chart. Things like pictures that you saw or memories that you have might go into the sights. Sounds that you associate. Again, I'm working with this client. Some of the sounds had to do with a person that she really liked walking out the door and the door slamming, and ouch, right? That really hit in there and laid a track in. And I'll give you a little spoiler alert. What we realized and then became a focus for our brain-based work, because that's something that I specialize in doing, was that there was messaging in there that she didn't even believe that actually said relationships are dangerous. Relationships are not safe. She did not think that in a logical way. She had plenty of data and plenty of friends in great relationships that said, no, not all relationships are dangerous. But remember, this is a hidden part of the brain that's always going to try to keep you safe. And if those messages have codified relationship equals danger, then it's going to do what it can to get in the way of a relationship being successful. So that's the spoiler alert, because we got there later after the fourth step with this PACT method. But that sound, was symbolic. And she wrote it down there, but it was symbolic of many times where her heart was really in something and it got cut off to her. So you fill this out fully. And then the fourth stuff is tough. T stands for trust. What I need you to do is find a person that you trust in your life, or a trusting individual. And it can be done with your therapist. If that's the type of person that you feel safest with, you can use a professional. And you want to show them your chart. And then here's your challenge: to sit in a humble space as a humble observer, and to listen to that other person's associations of what they're seeing on the chart. Because what they may see may be very different than what you know in this conscious part of your brain. And by being open to what they're sharing, you will start to get a window into what might be there for you in your unconscious. And so it was pretty easy for me to see when I looked at her chart that she had, lots of direct links between relationships being dangerous, even if she didn't think that consciously. And this is a quick way to start to be curious and start to even be able to see what might be hidden in that hidden control panel of yours. And I wanted to share just one other resource that is also in the back of the book. What do you do from it then? Because I'm telling you that you can change these codes. Well, the next step is to find a practice that is encouraging non-verbal expression in order to shift the way that this is held in the body. So I was just going to point out, and this is something that actually we can start to add to the Viva Center website, which is there's a 4-page in-depth chart with web links that shares about many brain and body-based therapies, including expressive therapies, including things that are accessible to you right now that are nonverbal, that might help you to recode and rework what's there in the hidden part of your control panel. I hope this was helpful, and I hope it gets you started on your journey to unlocking this incredible potential that you have inside of you.